They don't tell you that marriages fall apart quietly, not with shouting, not with slamming doors or broken plates. Sometimes it starts with a limp and a borrowed Band-Aid. That morning was like any other in our quiet suburb. Misty, slow, the kind of gray you only get in early fall. I'd made coffee, burnt the toast, and listened to the soft clicks of our son Charlie's cereal spoon against his bowl. Connie was out, running errands. She always did that on Thursdays. Flowers for the table, something sweet for Charlie's. Lunchbox, a croissant for me I didn't ask for but always appreciated. By noon, the rain had started. I heard the door open just as I was reaching for a second cup. She stepped in, soaked, a loose strand of hair sticking to her cheek and holding her left foot a little awkwardly. "What happened?" I asked, setting the mug down. She waved it. "Off." "Just slipped on a puddle. Nothing serious." But then I saw the gauze. Wrapped carefully, not like something you'd do in a rush. And the tape. Clean, neat, like a nurse's hand had done it. She dropped her keys on the counter. "A guy helped me. His apartment was right there. I didn't feel like waiting for a cab, and the buses were useless in that weather." "A guy?" I tried to keep my voice light. "Yeah, young, bookish. His apartment was like a library." She laughed softly. "You'd have liked it." I smiled back, but something in her voice hit me sideways. It was the way she said you'd have liked it, like I was a stranger to her interests now. I poured her some tea, watched as she leaned against the counter and sipped, eyes somewhere far past our kitchen walls. That night, after Charlie was in, bed. We sat on the couch watching some movie neither of us cared about. Her legs were tucked beneath her, blanket over her lap. I reached for her hand and she gave it, but it didn't feel like before. Her fingers were colder. Or maybe I was just imagining it. "You okay?" I asked, low. She smiled without turning. "Just tired. Tired." That word, it had started to replace real feelings between us. In bed, I kissed the back of her shoulder before she turned away. "You smell like rain," I whispered. She didn't answer. The next day, Charlie brought me his tablet. "Look, Dad, I took this yesterday." The photo showed Connie on the couch, her foot elevated, her face lit by a smile not meant for me. Behind her, blurry in the background, stood a man. Young, messy hair, holding what looked like a towel. "Who's that?" I asked. Charlie shrugged. "The guy who helped Mom." I nodded and handed the tablet back, smiling like I'd heard nothing strange. Inside, though, my chest felt hollow. That afternoon, I asked Connie if she wanted to join me for lunch at the little Italian place near my office. We hadn't done that in months. She said she had plans already, maybe next week. Then she left the house with a bag she rarely used. No explanation. No kiss, goodbye. By Saturday, I'd memorized the sound of her footsteps on the stairs, the slight pause near the mirror by the door, the way she double-checked her lipstick, even if she said she was just running errands. I noticed the perfume. Different. Lighter, something floral. Not the vanilla amber I always teased her about. "You going into the city again?" I asked that morning. She hesitated. "Yeah, just for a bit. Georgiana's having a thing." But Georgiana had moved to Denver in June. She caught my eyes and quickly added, I meant Julia." I nodded, pretending not to notice the lie. I could feel something shifting under my feet, like sand pulled by a current I didn't see coming. That evening, she came back late, said traffic was terrible. She didn't touch her dinner. I cleared the plates in silence while she sat on the porch, legs folded, face turned toward the stars. And then came Sunday. She said she was going into the city again. "To walk," she said. "I need fresh air." I watched from the window as she walked away. She didn't look back. Just raised the collar of her coat and disappeared down the wet sidewalk, the sky already darkening with another round of fall rain. I stood there long after she was gone, coffee in hand, watching nothing. The silence in the house was louder than anything I'd ever heard. Something was leaving us. I could feel it. Not with a bang, not with a fight, but with the softest footsteps fading into the mist. And I didn't know what scared me more, that I might lose her, or that she might already be gone. It started with the red dress, not blood red, not lipstick red. It was deeper, darker, the color of cherry wine spilled on white sheets. She hadn't worn it in years. I remembered because it was the dress she wore on our 10th anniversary. We'd gone to that rooftop restaurant downtown. The copper table, with the view of the skyline and the string lights that made her eyes look like starlight. She wore it now, to get a massage. "I thought you usually wore sweats to Georgiana's spa," I said carefully, watching her fasten a thin gold necklace, the one I gave her before Charlie was born. It rested above the line of her collarbone like a whisper. She didn't flinch. "It's not Georgiana's today. It's a new place in the city. My back's been killing me lately." I nodded, smiling like I believed her. But inside, something folded in on itself, quietly, like tissue paper in a gift box. After she left, I stood in the kitchen holding my phone. I typed in Jasmine Garden Spa, Manhattan. Then I hit call. A soft voice answered. "Jasmine Garden, how may I help you?" "Hi. My wife should be there for a noon massage. Connie Sumner?" A pause, tapping on a keyboard. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't see that name on the schedule today." I thanked her, hung up, and just stood there. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. It sounded louder than it should have. I didn't confront her when she came home. I didn't ask why her perfume lingered longer than usual. I didn't mention the faint shimmer of gloss on her lips when she claimed she'd been lying face down on a massage table for an hour. I just poured her a glass of wine and listened to her talk about traffic on the bridge and how Manhattan was. Crazy, as always. That night, she took her phone with her into the bathroom. I'd never noticed her do that before. Maybe she always had, and I just hadn't cared. But this time, I noticed. The shower ran for a long time. I walked past. The door paused, then doubled back. The light was on. Her phone buzzed. Once, then again. I stood there staring at it on the counter. The screen lit up. I could see the name, just a first name, Paul. I didn't touch it. My hand hovered above it like a ghost, trembling with the urge to swipe, unlock, read. But I didn't. Instead, I walked away, my fingers curling into fists. Dinners became silent performances. I'd ask, "How was your day?" She'd say, "Busy." Charlie would fill the rest with stories about recess, math class, the kid who threw up in the cafeteria. We'd laugh at his jokes, but when our eyes met, hers slid away. Once, I reached across the table, took her hand. She let me hold it for a second too long, then pulled it back with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. That smile killed me more than any slap ever could. One Thursday, I was at Charlie's school for a parent volunteer event. Connie was supposed to meet us. She never showed. I watched from the front steps as parents trickled in. I saw her finally, across the parking lot. Late, flushed, eyes scanning the crowd like she was looking for someone. But not us. She saw me and forced a wave. "Sorry, I got turned around." That wasn't true. We'd been going to that school for 3 years. The next week, I got a call from the school. "Mr. Sumner, Charlie's still here." "What do you mean? Connie didn't pick him up?" "No, sir. He's been waiting for over an hour." I broke every speed limit between my office and the school. Found my son sitting on a bench, legs swinging, backpack on his lap. "I thought Mom forgot me," he said softly. I hugged him tighter than I should have. That night, she walked in smiling, like nothing had happened. The city was packed. she said, kicking off her heels. Charlie waited for over an hour, I said. She froze. I thought I told you I couldn't get him today. You didn't. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but then she just nodded, whispered, "Sorry," and went upstairs. Later, I asked her quietly as we lay in bed, "Are you tired?" She faced the wall. "Just a lot on my plate lately." We didn't speak after that. I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling fan spinning slowly, like the seconds of my life grinding against each other. In the dark, I reached for the drawer of my nightstand. Inside was the snow globe, the one I gave her when Charlie was born. A tiny house inside, white flakes swirling when you shook it. I'd written a note back then, folded it under the base. "For every storm we survive together, I'll love you more." She used to keep it on her side of the dresser. Now it was in a drawer, buried beneath receipts and old birthday cards. I sat there holding it while the clock blinked 2:37 a.m. She wasn't in bed. I got up, padded down the hallway, expecting to find her in the kitchen with tea or maybe on the porch. But the house was dark, empty. She came back at dawn. I didn't ask where she'd been. She didn't offer. Her hair smelled like wind and someone else's cologne. I wanted to talk to her. Really talk. Sit her down, hold her hands, ask her what was happening to us. But I didn't. Because if I asked the question, I was terrified of the answer. So I said nothing. Just watched her from the window again as she left the house in a black trench coat and red lipstick. She didn't look back, and for the first time since I said "I do," I wondered if she ever would. It was a Thursday when the world started to fall apart for real. I came home early, something I rarely did. The office had a power outage, and for a moment I thought, maybe we'll have lunch together. Maybe today is a good day to try again. The house was quiet, too quiet. No laundry spinning, no TV hum, no faint rustle of pages turning. But her keys were on the hook. Her bag, the soft brown leather one I got her from Barcelona, was slouched on the hallway bench. She was home. I called out, "Connie?" No answer. I went room to room. Bedroom, empty. Kitchen, no mug, no half-drunk tea. Even the bathroom, dry, untouched. I stood there for a while, staring at the spot where her coat used to hang. Gone. I pulled out my phone and opened Find My iPhone. She shared her location once when we went hiking in the Catskills and forgot to turn it off. I'd never checked it before. I typed in the passcode and waited. The pin dropped downtown. Somewhere near Bleecker Street, Midtown Cinema, a matinee. An hour later, I parked a block away, my pulse loud in my ears. It was raining again, that lazy New York drizzle that soaks you before you even notice. I stood across the street under the awning of an abandoned juice bar, hands in pockets, waiting. Then I saw her. She walked out of the theater laughing. Next to her was him, the man from the photo, the background blur who was no longer blurry at all. He was young, confident, hair tousled like he didn't care, like he never had to. He was holding her elbow, lightly, like it belonged to him. She looked up at him the way she used to look at me, and just like that, something inside me cracked open, like a dam letting go after holding too much water for too long. We didn't talk that evening. She came home before me. Dinner was made, grilled salmon, quinoa, a sprig of rosemary on the plate like she was hosting a cooking show. I sat down and chewed, my throat dry. "You okay?" she asked eventually. I looked at her and nodded. "Yeah, just tired." Tired. The word we both used when we didn't want to say anything real. That night I walked. For hours. No destination. Just steps on concrete, rain in my hair, face cold, heart hollow. I thought about every moment. The first time she kissed me behind that bar in college. The day we brought Charlie home. The times we laughed so hard we couldn't breathe. How do you lose someone who's still sitting across the table from you? The next morning, I drove to his place. I had memorized the address from the GPS. It was one of those old, narrow buildings on the Lower East Side with the metal gates and too many buzzers. Apartment 4B. He opened the door barefoot, holding a cup of coffee. He looked like he just woke up, shirt wrinkled, boxers, hair messy in a way that wasn't accidental. "Can I help you?" he asked. I took a breath. "I'm Connie's husband." He froze. Then, without blinking, he stepped aside. "Come in." His apartment smelled like cedar wood and ink. Books lined every wall, stacked horizontally, vertically, even piled in corners. Titles like Naked Lunch, Letters to a Young Poet, The Myth of Sisyphus, all that heavy, poetic stuff you read when you want to feel something too big to name. I saw the snow globe before he even said a word. It was on his desk, the one I gave her when Charlie was born. The tiny white house, the swirling glitter. She used to shake it every morning before leaving for work, like it was a ritual. "What's that doing here?" I asked quietly. He looked at it. "She gave it to me." My voice cracked. "She gave it to you?" He sipped his coffee. "She said it reminded her of safety, of who she used to be." I swallowed, my fists clenched. "Did she tell you she used to keep it next to our son's crib?" "She told me a lot of things." He looked at me, calm. Too calm. "She said you used to be kind, that you made her laugh. But then life happened. Mortgages, routines, PTA meetings, and she got lost. You both did." I stepped closer. My breathing was tight. "She said she didn't want to disappear." "She didn't," I said through my teeth. "She just wanted to rewrite the story. Without me in it." He tilted his head. "You came here for what? To punch me? To feel better? To scare me?" I didn't answer. My eyes kept flicking to the globe. His voice lowered. "She's not the villain. You're not either. Maybe life's just complicated." But I didn't hear him anymore. My eyes were burning. My hands were shaking. And the snow globe, that stupid glass memory, was the only thing that made sense. I picked it up. "Don't," he started. But I already had. The weight of it felt perfect in my palm. And then I swung. The sound was soft, a dull crack, like a light bulb popping under a blanket. He crumpled instantly. His mug shattered on the floor. Blood. Too much blood. It wasn't supposed to look like that. I stared, frozen. Then came the panic. I don't know how long I spent cleaning. An hour? 3? My hands were numb. I used his towels, wiped every surface, erased fingerprints. I wrapped him in the rug near the window, the one with the geometric design she'd probably complimented. I dragged him down 3 flights of stairs, one slow bump at a time. No one saw me. The lift was broken, thank God. I shoved him in the trunk of my car, drove straight to Charlie's school. The fall performance was in 30 minutes. In the bathroom, I tore off my shirt, had blood on the sleeves. I shoved it into a trash can, replaced it with a sweater from the gym bag in my back seat, washed my face, looked in the mirror. Who was this man? I sat beside Connie in the school auditorium. She reached for my hand. Her fingers were warm. I looked at her. Then at the stage where our son stood smiling, holding a paper sun. She leaned in and whispered, "You're shaking." I smiled. Just cold. But it wasn't the cold. It was the knowing that I was no longer just a man betrayed. I was something else now, something I couldn't take back. The next morning, she noticed my shoes. "You're wearing one black and one brown," she said, almost laughing. "Were you in the dark when you got dressed?" I looked down. She was right. A black Oxford on the left, a brown loafer on the right. "I guess I wasn't paying attention," I said, forcing a grin. She tilted her head and stepped closer. "Are you okay?" I opened my mouth, but the words didn't come. Just a nod, a shrug, a kiss on her forehead that landed like a lie. That day, I tried to work from home, but the walls were too loud. The air in our house felt heavy, like something was waiting to fall. I kept glancing out the window, watching for shadows that weren't there. Around noon, I asked her, "Would you ever want to move back to the city?" She looked up from her book. "What?" "I don't know," I said. "Just wondering. Maybe it's too quiet out here." She gave a small smile. "We moved. Out here for Charlie." "I know," I said. "Just curious." 2 days later, the police knocked on our door. A man and a woman in suits. Polite, professional, unreadable. "Mrs. Sumner?" the woman asked. "We're following up on a missing person report. A Paul Martell." She froze, just for a second. Then the composure came back. "I don't know where he is," she said calmly. "We weren't very close. His ex-wife said he mentioned you. Your number was found in his apartment." She looked at me. I stepped forward. "Is there a problem?" "Not yet," the male officer said. "We're just talking to everyone who might have seen him last." They left with polite smiles and business cards. She closed the door quietly, stood with her back against it. Then, like a storm hitting all at once, she spun and hurled a book across the room. It was the one he gave her. It hit the floor spine first, pages splaying open like a mouth screaming silently. She looked at me, eyes wide, breathing hard. "You knew," she said. That night, during Charlie's birthday party, she smiled through everything. Passed out cake, took pictures, hugged relatives. No one saw her hands shaking as she poured the lemonade. After everyone left, she found me in the laundry room. I was tossing his sweater, the one I'd worn that day, into the machine. She opened her mouth to speak, then noticed something in the pocket. A photo, the one with her and Paul on the street. She pulled it out with trembling fingers, looked at it, then at me. "You had this?" she whispered. I didn't answer. She turned and walked out. Later that night, she stood at the mantel staring at something. I walked in and followed her gaze. The snow globe. It was back. I had brought it home. Without thinking, stuffed it into my coat pocket after wiping it down. Now it sat there again, right where it used to be. Innocent, gleaming. She didn't say a word, just reached out and touched it. "When?" she asked. I sat down, slow and heavy. "The day you forgot Charlie," I said. She didn't move. I saw, "You with him. I followed you." Tears slipped down her face, but she didn't wipe them. "You killed him?" "I didn't mean to," I said. I couldn't breathe. I saw that thing and I snapped." She pressed her hands to her mouth. Jesus. We sat in silence for a long time. Then quietly, she walked to her closet, opened a small box, took out old photographs, ones of her and Paul of that day at the bookstore, the movie, the rain. She took them outside and burned them in a metal dish on the patio. I watched from the window. The fire flickered against her face like a punishment. The next morning, I came downstairs and saw her dismantling the snow globe. She unscrewed the base. From inside, she pulled out the note I wrote her 14 years ago. "For every storm we survive, together, I'll love you more." Her knees gave out. She sat on the floor with the paper in her lap, sobbing like I hadn't seen her cry since her father's funeral. She came to me later, whispered, "We should have taken a cab that day. After the auction." I knew exactly what she meant. That weekend, we went to the school auction as planned. Smiles, laughter, money raised for art supplies and playground mulch. We drove home with Charlie asleep in the back seat, his face smushed against his Spider-Man hoodie. At the red light, we stopped. The intersection was quiet, glowing under the street lamp. "I've been thinking," I said. She looked over. "Mexico," I said. "We could leave, start fresh, change our names, open a bookstore on a beach, sell piña coladas to tourists." She let out a dry laugh. "We can't." "We could," I insisted. No one knows. She glanced toward the police station across the intersection. We were 100 feet away. We can't run from ourselves, she said. I stared at the building, at the door, at the soft red glow bathing our windshield. Then I looked at her, the woman I'd loved, the woman who betrayed me, the woman who was still here. Her hand slid into mine, and for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt something solid. I don't know who I am anymore, I whispered. Me neither, she said. The light turned green, but we didn't drive forward, not yet.